And welcome to another episode of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Unstructured and Unscripted. I'm John Jacobs, co-founder of Candidate X. I'm joined with my fellow co-founders, Man Wong and Sunil Diao. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
So this week we are going to go a little bit off piece. We're going to talk a little bit about something that's not necessarily a news story as we have done in previous weeks. We're going to talk a little bit about some practical advice that we can give to organizations based on some of the things that we are seeing, problems in the market that we're seeing organizations having at the moment. And the topic that we want to talk about today is about candidate self-selection, and in particular, how companies may be able to better attract candidates, diverse candidates to their business to even apply in the first place. Now, we've seen a lot of research published in the last year or so about how candidates will look upon an organization's careers pages, their recruitment literature, and they will decide that not to apply based on feeling like they won't fit in or they won't identify with that organization in however they see things in that literature and those visuals and those images. So I wondered whether we could give some organizations some advice and practical tips on how best to attract diverse candidates in their marketing, their literature, their engagement materials. So just wanted to throw this one open to a bit of a discussion. So to jump in first on the topic.
I jumped in and spoke for so long last week. I think I'll let Manuel have some of the airtime.
Thanks, Sunil. Yeah, I think this is no doubt a pertinent point that most hiring businesses, if not all hiring businesses, are undergoing at this stage in time. So pretty apt discussion to be having. Okay, so what are companies currently doing to engage with diverse candidates? In the main, they are probably working either on a direct sourcing model, or they are engaging with maybe agencies or even specific specialist agencies to engage with these diverse communities. So ones that might specifically have a network within the Black community or BAME network, reach out to disability cohorts and networks and candidates of that ilk, or specifically LGBTQ, whatever it might be. So, in the main, that's their kind of sort of reliance on these pieces. And whilst that's completely understandable, and you need to take that proactive approach, and also, ensure that you can get your opportunities, roles, and business in front of these diverse communities. It's interesting to see that they only work to a sort of extent, and the reason that we can see that happening, and from our conversations, is that it's one thing getting in front of these people and talking to them about it, exercising these specialist agencies and networks. The other thing is actually having a proposition that's meaningful enough to actually engage with these communities. And I think that's the opportunity that most of these organizations probably are missing at this stage in time. We talk about this a lot in our business as internal trio, which is the candidate wastage, quote unquote. There are so many good candidates out there that are probably under diverse communities that you want to speak to and engage with, that might take one look at your collateral, job spec, website, etc., and then don't apply. And then most agencies will just move on because they are on a times material basis. They are paid on delivering an outcome. So they're hyper-focused on finding the candidate will say yes. What we want to do is work with organizations to understand the ones that say no and why not, and then understand that data and synthesize it and provide it back upstream to organizations. And I think for me, at this stage in time, that simple piece, that missing jigsaw piece, is what people should be sort of focusing on.
So Neil, what do you think about the authenticity that organizations should be displaying? One of my bugbears is that organizations will put pictures of these multicultural boardrooms. You'll get the human beings of all denominations in these pictures, but they're all stooges, they're all actors, they're not real people to work for that business. And it's one of the things that I think is really lazy in how organizations portray themselves. Where's the authenticity? Where's that connection with real life people?
Yeah, no, it's good point. I mean, as you know, it's one of my big bugbears as well. And I was going to lead on to what Man was saying, that being genuine and consistency of that being genuine is key to this, right? So there's research that we produced on the fintech and challenger bank in UK sector. You can download it from our website. And what was interesting when we did that exercise was we not only researched about the sort of the senior leadership team and the demographics amongst those businesses, but we looked about what they were doing from a DE&I perspective and how that was published or how they were promoting that. And it was interesting because what we see quite a lot is if there is a specific month or specific day that there's an awareness campaign, a lot of these businesses will be promoting that, and you'll see this through social media. But when you go onto their websites and start looking deeper and deeper, which a lot of the, let's say, the generations before us are doing now before they apply for a role, right? They're not. It was difficult to find any of that information. So as a candidate, it will make you think, oh, well, hold on, is this where I want to work? It doesn't seem to be consistent, and you start asking questions then about the businesses. So for me, this is where I would like to see a lot more being promoted about what you're doing, how inclusive you are as a business internally. For someone like me to identify to apply for a business, someone like who similar to kind of demographics to me, I want to hear from those individuals. So business need to be harnessing and actually promoting what they're doing internally, a bit more transparently as well. I like to see data as well about how many people are. Am I going to sit through a 2-hour application form or an hour application form knowing that I've got a fair chance of working for your business? And I'd like to see some data around that as well to go, right, actually, this company does look very inclusive. They also are very considerate about how they're hiring, and the culture internally promotes that. It's somewhere I want to go. And I don't see many businesses. They're always looking for the silver bullet, quick win. Let's do a campaign. Let's just go and hire those people and show that we're very diverse and inclusive. It's not that simple.
Man, what's your thoughts on how important it is for candidates to see themselves reflected, to be able to identify very quickly and easily with an end organization's employees to see that they might fit in? You're on mute, man.
You think after doing this for a year and a half, you'd master the mute button? I think it's tremendously important, right? Rehashing on something that Sunil just said there, the difficulty is if everybody's trying to attract the same types of people, these diverse candidates, etc., whatever they might be from these particular communities, and they're using the same sort of agencies because they want to take advantage of these networks and deploying things in the same way. How are you actually separating yourself apart from your competitors or from your peer groups, etc.? All the companies say the same thing because it's like a calendar of D&I where you go, right, this is what we're going to do, this is our messaging, everybody's a rainbow manager in this particular month, etc. You lose that authenticity, you lose that individualism of you as an opportunity as an organization. So those that are genuinely engaging with candidates that can have that direct channel, that ability to express what it's like to work there, to answer that burning question that we know gets asked, which is what's it really like for someone like me to work for someone like you? That's where the power is, and that's the opportunity.
And what's also interesting here, I find, and I've found along this journey, and obviously I'm not, before going to recruitment with you three, I was in industry, but looking back now when I'm applying for a job, I'd like to see consistency amongst when I see senior leaders talk about DE&I within the business and their commitment to when I speak to someone else within the recruitment team, for example. I want to feel that same passion to go, is this genuine, that it's throughout the whole business? And I don't see a lot of that. And we've experienced a lot of this as well, regards to inconsistencies. When we speak to senior leader, we are definitely on this road. We want to be an inclusive business. And then you speak to someone else in the business who are different, at maybe a different level, and it's so disconnected. So if we're experiencing that, imagine how candidates feel. Yeah,
absolutely. We're already approaching 10 minutes. We promised ourselves we wouldn't go too far over that as a limit. So if we're just to wrap up this quick bite-sized session, can you guys give one piece of advice to any organization listening to this as to what they could be doing better to prevent candidates looking upon their jobs and their organization and hovering over the apply button and deciding not to click apply? How can they get that candidate to click and follow through with that application? One piece of advice to take away.
For me, it really is starting with understanding the ones that don't apply. Why not? To enable you to make that connection to someone, to do that call to action. You have to understand why they wouldn't in the first place. And without understanding that knowledge gap, you can't really necessarily provide any platform to fulfill it afterwards. So ask those questions. Ask your agencies to perform that as a matter of recourse for you. You know, it's just as important for those ones that for every no, it's even more important than yes. You know, you think about, just very quickly on this, you think about TripAdvisor reviews. You know, you might have a couple 5-star reviews, but the ones that people tend to focus on are the 1 stars and the 2 stars. And as a hiring business, I think you should be doing the same.
I think just being genuine and visible. I want to see proof points. So actually utilize that, publish that, and let someone look, you know, as a candidate, look into your business. Don't hide the fact that you might have not been on the right journey beforehand, but you are now, and really harness that, what you're doing internally, and promote it. And for me, that as a candidate will reflect on how, if I apply for that role with your business or not. Just a note on this, JJ, it's a good piece, this, and I think what we'll look to do, and I'll look to do, is actually write a piece about some sort of points that businesses, from what we've experienced, should be sort of considering with regards to their hiring.
Great. All right, guys. Thank you for your contribution this morning, and we'll see you again next week, everyone.